Yeah, it's a Friday, I think. What year is it? I don't even know. It's Anytime with Ken and Alden. This is our return show. And oh, what a show it is. Hi, everybody. Where we go from here? We don't need roads. I don't know. Hi, Alden.
Hi, Ken, from ground zero of the first unprecedented time of these times. The new year, we didn't even make it 10 full days.
Yeah.
And but you're there in Burbank, and so far, here you are. You're on, so people know you're good.
Yeah, we're good. And I'll say, you're making a great reference, and we don't know how to do this. I'll just say right now, you and I don't know how to come back in the best way. I'm ground zero adjacent, and I might say this a few times during the show, especially if other people jump onto the live stream, because we didn't promote this one today, because it's tough to promote your work when your work is sometimes seems to yourself as trite and meaningless.
Yes.
But quickly, I am okay. Grace and I are okay. Affected. Everyone's affected. Everyone knows about it. In our audience, I believe we have Eli here,
Yes.
right? Star Wars in the Galaxy. Family home gone, Pacific Palisades. We all know someone who was either affected in that way, got out of here. We stayed. We were very fortunate. The winds were the key. We can dive into it. The winds, which were hurricane level in Burbank specifically, if they had blown the Eaton fire, which is just a goddamn tragedy. They're all tragedies. I'm going to declare that as I stumble through my words. It would have been bad. It's same with the Hollywood fire. If the winds were still going that night, you would have seen historic losses. And then you got the Pacific Palisades, which is heart-wrenching to see the footage there. I've been watching the news this morning. They're just kind of looking at things, and it's mind-numbing. I'm okay. I'm just a silly man in a pink jacket here with you, buddy.
Yeah. It's been a lot. I know. So just to catch everybody up a little bit, this is our first show, as it said, the return show, first show of 2025. We took 2 off days, 2 off weeks for
planned, right?
No shows. Yeah, those were spoken about. Like, hey, let's take these off. It's Christmas. I was out of town. Blah blah blah, etc. Normal stuff. And in the broadcast world, December doesn't even count. And so every person I've met in broadcast media, December is kind of a joke. So we took those off. And then, a little company called Lucasfilm decided that they were not going to take things off. So it affected the Force Center schedule. So we took an extra week off. And then right when we were like, okay, here it comes, this happened.
Yeah.
And that is on top of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other things that I had jotted down over the past couple weeks to talk about that were also frustrating, stupid, ridiculous, politically, socially, technologically, and now environmentally. So we're not in the best mood, but we're happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, look, and there's the stuff going on. I'm seeing Alex Amali tweet from a snowstorm in Atlanta. I got my friend in Dallas experiencing an ice storm, and it's been a thing. It's been a thing. Yeah, I gave you credit. I kind of yesterday was waffling, only because there's an exhaustion level. And again, I'm going to over apologize for this. Like I am
Sure.
not. I didn't have to run from flames. I didn't do the pack. We almost did. Grace and I did the. Gonna need that. I have friends who are in their car waiting, in Pasadena. One friend was the Hollywood fire. Literally, the evacuation zone was like out his front door, but his was safe. Like there's this and so there's just this stress. And then there's I don't know if you've heard this, the debacle of the air messages from the county. So yesterday evening there was what they're calling the Kenneth fire. Finally, my name's is in lights. The Kenneth fire, which was an arson fire, started in the West Hills, spread rapidly. They got to it real good, real quick. Great airdrops. It's contained, at least the forward movement. Around that time, a countywide "get the hell out of here" message came, and every one of friends are texting. I was watching the local news. The weather guy got it on his phone, and everyone was confused. It was an error. So then they sent an apology, which was just as loud because it comes on your phone. It's the meh, meh.
Yeah.
And all through the night last night, they sent 3 of them incorrect.
What?
And there was a press conference trying to explain it. So everyone who's already frazzled is like, duh, duh, duh. So it's just there's a low.
Because even when things are running perfectly, people are unsure about procedure or information or how to get their information. It's bananas. I mean, like friend of the show, Nikki Kumar, he has been in Texas visiting his family and was supposed to come back the day that this started, and obviously flights canceled and everything. And then when the Sunset one started and was approaching everything, his apartment also is right there, like on the borderline of what that one was. And then thankfully they got that one under control. That would have been all of the iconic touristy spots for people that are playing along. That's your Hollywood Bowl one and Walk of Fame one. So like they avoided that, but I mean, like, it's just like, this is historic. Like we are already in a people will look back on this 30 years from now type situation.
It is. And look, I've been out here 26, 27, in my 27th year, I think. I lose track of the numbers. I've been through a lot of these. My 17 years in public safety, I didn't directly deal with these, but I had a lot of people on my staff who were part of the forest fire teams who would go out in the seasons and stuff like that. So we've all lived around it, but I've watched it get worse and worse over the years. And a lot of that includes homes being built into hills that didn't have homes when I first moved here. And you know, I have no big comment on that. I'm just saying that's just a fact. But this week, the reason you're hearing a lot of us, even someone like me who is relatively untouched by it, it was chaos. I'll put 71 mile per hour sustained winds in Burbank. Cat 1 hurricane is 74. We are having gusts up to 90 to 100. That's why the Palisades fire spread like that. That's why the Eaton fire blew down the hill into Altadena, which is this great, wonderful community and neighborhood. And then when all the other ones are springing up, and the winds were still going, the Sunset one was panic. It was sheer panic, friends text and everything. And then when people, you know, so I made the joke to a friend in gallows humor. It's like Deep Impact. Everyone's trying to leave and the roads are just blocked. People are trying to get out of Hollywood and you're just seeing miles of red taillights. So if it had gone down, thank God, or whatever thank Iron Man, it didn't happen. So that's part of the panic, man. That's part of what this week was different than the past. We had a hurricane wind blowing this fire around. I don't know about you, Alden, but I think that's concerning and maybe speaks to a larger weather problem.
It's almost as if someone actually can we get Al Gore in the StreamYard? Thank you. It's time to apologize. Just bring anytime producers bring Al Gore in. It's almost like there's an inconvenient truth that we were supposed to confront when I was a little kid, and now I'm almost 30.
It's almost like if you go back, Climate Town has a great video on how, like, in general, I'm speaking, I don't have the details from it, but like climate change was almost solved in like the 70s until the oil companies were like, hey, wait a second. And there's memos and there's things about it. There's an awareness of it during the Carter administration. Rest in peace, Jimmy. Go say hi to Iron Man for us. It's frustrating, right? It's frustrating.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember being a kid, and there's a episode of That 70s Show where they like kind of make fun of like the sentiment of the time of like maybe they could make great technological leaps for the environment, and everyone just kind of laughs it off like it's stoner talk. Like Kelso's running around saying like, "There's a car that could run on water," and they got rid of the guy that like could have, like, they get into all that, and it's like, it seems so silly, but it's like, yeah, people were aware of these things being, even if they were theoretical. But yeah, now here we are, and the frustrating thing, you know, you shared a post and you added your it's not called a quote tweet anymore, I guess, a quote post, a quote skeet, if you will,
a quote
post, and Al post, and you rightfully added what you had to say about family members reaching out and everything. But the whole point being that whole quarter hours were going by on all the major networks with nary a mention of climate, like the word climate, or of like, forget like climate crisis, climate change, climate disaster. Like if they're not going to go that far, they're not even using baby terms like they used to get. Like, so the greenhouse effect is this. Like they won't even go that far anymore.
There is this goes to the Luigi Mangione situation and Bill Burr kind of going viral. Like I told you guys on the show, I was there at the Comedy Store that night. He unveiled his whole bit, but he went on podcasts and everything. There is a conversation to be had about like, it's wrong, it's painful, it's angering, but like it's surreal to sit there and watch newscaster, so I understand. I almost thought I was going to be in local news growing up, and I was in radio, and there's a dispassionate kind of approach to it. But they were getting passionate. But there's one, and I responded to our buddy Elliot Dewberry at Internet Today had kind of interacted with me. There was a local newscaster who was talking about what was going on. And he was saying these are unprecedented winds that have created this unprecedented situation, and we'll never see it again in our lifetime. It's so unprecedented. It's like, buddy, literally on Tuesday, there's a warning for more winds. This is what we do now. And the fact that we can't even, I had some, friends, and I have had some problems with my parents over the years politically, offered to help, offered to, if we need to evacuate, all differences aside. And I appreciate that. And we didn't have deep conversations. We didn't have time. But my post was, there is that, because I think we're maybe not you. We're generally decent humans who don't want to go around, just fighting with everyone in a donut shop or anything. So there's this tendency to yeah, it's really bad, as opposed to, yeah, why the fuck do you keep voting for politicians that think this is a hoax? If you want to help me, maybe start there.
Yeah. And voting for, look, I'm going to try to articulate what I'm about to say in a way that's not super dark and trying to make this seem like it's the best case, because it's not. This is an apocalyptic scenario. What just happened? There is no. It would have been worse. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is this: let's take the exact same situation and just imagine a timeline where it happened post inauguration. It would be situationally, contextually worse. There are people that vote for a man that would gleefully allow Southern California to burn to the last cinder out of spite, because that's a blue area that doesn't like him. Because LA those are the liberals that don't like him, and he's probably laughing, and he's probably going to give Newsom and everyone there hell about federal relief the second that he takes it over. And I'm not saying I know what the Dems can do to can Biden in his last literal 10 days do something that cannot be unfucked? I don't know.
I mean, there's Garrett was 180 days of federal relief. There's some stuff. I think they're trying. I think, again, yeah, you're right. The actual nuts and bolts of how to make it work. Yeah, you absolutely. Look what he was already posting on Truth Social. And then the spreading of spreading of the misinformation of the fire hydrants and the water situation. The water situation in California is complicated, and it's easy to pin it on Newsom. It's easy to pin it on anyone, right or left. It's complicated. And again, I shout out Climate Town, which did a big video that is eye-opening and frustrating. There's it went viral with that, one billionaire family that bought all the water in 94 and charges LA back for. They're Saudi Arabia owns half our water. Some of it goes to Arizona. It's very complicated, but that's not why the hydrants failed. It failed because 3 major fires were going at once, and there's only so much water to go around, and that's the issue, that these 3 major fires started because of unprecedented winds. And that, to your point, you're absolutely right. In 10 days, this is who knows. And then the people out of state or out of the area, mocking what goes on here. And look, am I less heartbroken for Paris Hilton and her house being burned out? Yes, but shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? No one needs your comment on Paris Hilton right now.
You can hold those two thoughts in your mind. Just to say some will be able to bounce back with relative ease because of money is a reality.
It's a fact.
But as we texted and other friends of ours, and I'm sure all of you guys, our Californian friends, the whole Force Center team, Grace, just everybody has probably nonstop talking about this. And a thing that's been consistent is the realization, which we all know from other attacks and things, but attacks and disasters, but it is indiscriminate. It's somebody, it's a friend who's my age, just out there, bussing tables or whatever, trying to make it. But it's also Billy Crystal. It's also Jamie Lee Curtis. It's also Mandy Moore, all of whom have lost it all right now. And it's Billy Crystal can buy a house tomorrow and move on. He's Billy Crystal, but it's still memory is real. I think it was a John Mayer that posted that John Mayer posted a folder that's all of the photos from his dad's life. And he wrote a really beautiful post, and he was like, this is the stuff. He's like, it's not that other stuff.
Yeah, and it's just me in this, maybe it's my perspective. Like I said, it's reality. It's some of the recovery will be a lot easier, a lot easier for these folks. But just They wake up in the morning, they go to the bathroom, they have a cup of coffee, they have hopes and dreams and sad moments and failures, and this is
Yeah.
all what they're facing. And it's just not the time. There's other things to be like, this is the time
Yes.
for, but yeah, I just, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm glad people are, there seems to be at least a blue sky, dare I say even Threads, which I'm obviously on there less right now, but there seems to be a pushback against that kind of narrative. Thank God.
Yeah, it's like shut the fuck up if we're talking about like human moments and everything. It's like I think when it comes to this is a much bigger conversation that we could do in full some other time, but like when people attain a certain level of success, it's like commentators or fans or critics or whoever seem to like flip a switch on whether or not they want that person to be a human in that moment. Like when they win an award, they're a human. And it's like we all cry because we want that for people. But when something bad happens, it's like, oh, are you crying for a billionaire? And it's just like, shut the fuck up.
Well,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
no, good.
Lon Harris, my old Screen Junkies cohort and buddy, had a great post of just the view of everyone out here being super rich and successful, or just because you're on a big YouTube channel. Like he told the story of a Screen Junkies fan asking, "Hey, where's your movie fights dressing rooms?" And I commented back like, "You mean the one bathroom stall that had a 2-inch wide gap in it, so you just stare into the eye of the person waiting for you to finish your shit?" Like, yeah, that was our dressing room.
Yeah.
You know, I had one. I won't say the name, but one person from Screen Junkies went to a press event, got out of like an Uber, and the security people recognized them and were like, "Oh my God, wait, like you don't have like a limo?" Like with all sincerity,
Yeah.
I watch Screen Junkies. You don't. Where's the limo for you? And so yes, some uber rich people, but it's also there's a lot of family, a lot of legacy. Altadena is a very diverse working class neighborhood, and it's tragic.
A
Understandable.
lot
Anyways,
of
I don't even know where I'm going
historically,
anymore.
like yeah, but a lot of historically black-owned homes. I saw people talking about a
It
lot of
is, yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like there are
Altadena is,
properties
yeah.
that have like always been fixtures in the black community of like,
Hmm.
and that means something because of that.
Yeah,
And then also, you know, like on the less serious but like historically important, like the mansion that's been used in tons of stuff,
yeah.
including being the
History.
Hacks mansion is burnt except for the front, and like there's all this
Yeah,
stuff that's happening, and it's just like it's a test in empathy, like for a lot of us, myself included, like we're just watching this digitally and we're just getting the little communications from you guys when we can, but it's just
yeah.
it's been
It's-
on the flip, right, of like it's not the time for this, for your snide ass little bullshit about celebs. It is the time to talk about climate change. It is the time to talk about budget. It is like this is
Yeah.
when, similar to when a shooting happens and everybody that doesn't want to confront the problem comes in with it's not the time. Well, then when? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because it is
Mm-hmm.
the time. It is the time to talk about incarceration and how it leads to slave labor. It's the time to talk about LAFD budget. It's the time to talk about climate change. It's the time to talk about infrastructure. Like,
Yeah.
you can this is January. We just got started and we're heading into the worst possible scenario for the executive branch of this country.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like I've said, like my perspective on it being 29 has been, this has been a constant warning that has slowly been phased out of conversations. The Democrats on mass, you know, the capital D Democrats that just ran with Kamala and Tim Walz's ticket, they did not have climate as part of the conversation at all whatsoever. They abandoned the issue. Kamala, who I think was pro, someone correct me, Green New Deal. I know she was in with Bernie on Medicare for all, and then, you know, quietly dipped out of there. But Green New Deal has fallen out of the conversation completely. They were busy listing shit like protect crypto assets because that's going to help. And so it's like, you know, I hate to do both sides because I firmly believe that the Republicans and Democrats are not the fucking same for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just
yeah,
not. I think it's very easy to be like, see, but on this issue, it is indiscriminate, and they and both sides of the main core branches of D's and R's that are in power have fucked it entirely, my entire life. You know, Obama, I'm sure he cares about the planet. I've never talked to him, but like, it's like there was no sweeping change. And Barry and I have never, you know, I never gave him a little stomach tap like W did at the Carter funeral. And nothing came of that was confident. We left the Obama years being like, oh, we should have done something about climate. Now we're now we're cooked. And it was, and 2 whole presidencies have gone by since. And it's bad. It's really, really bad. And the snows that were also mentioned, like that speaks to it. I talked to Scotty Jarrett from Bob Badcast, and how being a Louisiana kid his whole life, they've noticed and they've talked. He's like, yeah, dude, when we started getting what should be like late summer situations in November, he's like, you cannot deny that.
I am a dumb comic in a pink or maybe almost salmon, as someone pointed out, hoodie that it was ordered as pink. Whether it shows up salmon, I don't know. I don't have the answers, Alden, but I keep going to the how do you break it down and communicate it in a easily digestible, and I'll say non-swarmy, finger-pointy way that gets it to the people who can see it, because there's great amount of hoops that are leaped through by, hey, when I have a conversation about electric cars, and again, our electric cars, I don't own one, and I have friends that do, and they kind of hate them. Like, I don't know, but like, I get pushback on from some of my family members of, wow, the grid can't handle it, and maybe that's a fact. I don't have that all in front of me. Maybe that's a fact, but then maybe we should fix the grid. Like, maybe that's because we got to move forward, and the hoops they go to justify holding on to all this stuff, because it is complicated. So how do you break it down? That's why I mention channels like Climate Town a lot, because for me it's made it real. Because I would say I was not a denier 20 years ago, but I was oh, come on, you know what I mean? Like that vibe.
How bad can it be? Blah blah blah.
Maybe we don't know. 500 scientists stepped forward to say they disagreed with this and this and that, and it's like the water. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants, and how quick that turned into 15 other stories other than the reality. How do we break it down? Whether you're running for office or trying to communicate when everyone is experiencing it, because there's still the people that are like, what are you talking about? Snow in the winter? Ooh, is that a problem? Meanwhile, everyone in Dallas is sliding across highways that are, this thing, sorry, I'm ranting, but like this happens a lot. Like there's one of these fires is an arson. So I bet you that becomes well, that's not climate change. Well, okay, maybe, but you don't deny the Palisades. You know what I mean? And like, how do we break it down? I don't know, Alden. I don't know. You're young. Fix it.
Yeah, yeah, right. And it's like, and I'm already ranting all the time. I'm like, my nephew's generation, they're cooked. It's over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot, and it's like, it's hard because similar to a lot of stuff when it comes to especially like American right wing politics and like and even the dumber end of like moderate politics, you end up with bashing your head against the wall, because it's like, what do you get out of it? Like, you guys aren't getting big oil checks. You're not. How are you so ingrained? You don't. I hate, but I also understand 1%ers in this regard, because like I understand the human capacity for greed and evil. Like I got it. I understand it. But like, Joe and Bob and Jake that are down at Miller's Ale House, like having a Zinger Mountain Melt after they had a hard day's work. Like, you're not getting fucking anything from big oil or from any of these people. Why defend it? Don't you want a world? You guys are so about like, we got to toughen people up. We got to. Why wouldn't you want a world to do that in? I don't understand it. Don't you want a world to be racist in?
So sometimes that's why I break it down. Yeah, excellent point. They'd say yes. But that's why I sometimes break it down to I'm a dumb guy and I need it simple. That's why I go to like 82% of evangelicals voted for Trump. That's a problem. How do we untangle that? Because a lot of that, what you're talking about, by the way, you said Joe, Bob, and Jake. So Joe Biden, Bob Iger, and Jake Kasdan? Is that what you mean?
Jake Kasdan in the big leagues now.
Or Gyllenhaal. But the working, you're talking about the working class. And those are working class names. But you're talking about the working class. I think there's a lot of this holding on to America, right? And God and country. And a lot of times when I'm talking to my family members, even the concept of saying, I don't know, maybe some sort of form of democratic socialism, a la insert the country that we all kind of secretly want to move to, or not secretly want to move to. The answer has always come back, no, you can't do that. That will destroy our way. And it's this. That's been this thing that just has always been there. Those guys in the bar having whatever the fuck you said they were going to have don't want to change because, like, it's America. That's an eagle, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's God. And this is the only
was that the bald eagle that got bird flu the other day?
Yeah.
Was it that bald eagle? Another problem that we
Yeah,
have.
another problem. Anyways, but you know what I'm saying? Where it's all dumbed down to simple things and these simple concepts, and there's a lot of times when I suggest. By the way, I'm not suggesting communism, all right? Because my grandparents had to flee from a very bad version of it that was taken over by men seeking power. I'm not saying that's the answer, but they go to that because it is the great fight that was put into the brains of that generation, from Truman and Eisenhower on up to Reagan, and there's a truth to that, right? Like my grandmother used to have to send her sister food and cans and jeans in Chernobyl in the 80s before Chernobyl became what everyone knows it as, an HBO show, because she didn't have anything, right? So there's realities there. But how do we get past that to say, no, God can still survive in another economic system?
Yeah, and we see a version of that here in Florida, where that's why you'll never, I don't think ever in my lifetime will we win the Cuban community over to a blue candidate. It's not going to happen because that generational trauma from a socialist project that went awry and was infected by fascism, infected by authoritarianism. And so then they hear someone like Bernie Sanders say, what about free college? And they're like, he's going to become Castro. Like they cannot work through that pain. And I'm not saying I know how to do it. Real quick, just some comments here that made me laugh. And Richard Svetnik said, don't you know it'll trickle down all that?
It'll trickle down.
It'll trickle down. Eli with a Guardians of the Galaxy quote. What has the galaxy ever done for you? Why would you want to save it? Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it. That was one of the most real motivating moments in a comic book film. Sean Rooms here. He says he hopes things are all right on your side. Thinking of you in LA. And then he also said he's thinking of me because I live in Florida.
Well, just in general, but
just in general. All of that is true. And it's hard. And I know that this is a battle. I know that, you don't have to talk about it on air, obviously. I know this is a battle that you have fought over the last few years and continue to fight with just like your family and people that you know. And it's like sometimes you win that tiny little thing, the game of inches, and then something like this happens, and it's like, hey,
I had you're talking too about something that happened that probably would have been more a focus of the show today, if not for an absolute horrible disaster playing out in front of me. But I kind of had some problems with my folks, more specifically my mother, over the break. We were having a fine conversation, and then the Luigi Mangione thing came up. And again, I want to be clear. I don't think the murder was a good idea and will solve anything. However, because I'm in the Bill Burr camp of, aren't you seeing the bigger picture, and doesn't that resonate, or shouldn't that resonate, and shouldn't that be talked about? Not going, how could this happen? Going, oh, I'm surprised this hasn't happened before because of the system. And that caused a gut reaction, a default reaction from my mother, because we had just been complaining about high prices on things. And she's understanding. And I have to come to the table of being like, I understand I was telling you to vote for a candidate while the system that was broken, right? Or and blah, blah, blah. But she goes to this default reaction, this pearl clutching of, but that poor CEO, his kids will have no father. A fact. That's sad. Yeah. And then I had to, also his decisions in his AI program probably ruined a lot more lives too. And I'm not saying one equals out the other, but there's a conversation to be had. And that devolved into, we're not talking anymore, because it goes to, I chose Jesus, and Jesus will lead us through this. And this system, the system we have, is how Jesus' love will grow in America. And it's this default reaction. It's the wall that we have to get through.
You know what my favorite part of the Bible is? It's in Matthew when they say those who live by the sword will die by the sword. I think people kind of forget that stuff. And I think like
there's a lot to forget.
Ken's like, because the beginning, the middle, the end. And it's like, people like you cannot inflict, which I think is the point maybe you were trying to make in a nicer I'm your son way, and not in a I'm a 29-year-old little punk ass over here way. But it's like you cannot inflict wanton damage and just widespread pain on people and just expect nothing. Like it's like I think that's reality. Like here's go to my notes of things that happened since we've been gone. Look at these two for some good news. Jean-Marie Le Pen dead at 96, Anita Bryant dead at 84.
Anita Bryant dead,
And it's like, these are people that no one is shedding a tear for. In fact, are celebrating, posting about, dunking on. France took to the streets, fireworks, smoke, all the colorful smoke, the signs like in French saying, rotten piss, or the pieces, the racist piece of dead. Like, he's a Nazi and he's dead. Great. Anita Bryant, how many bodies are probably like, can we trace back to the Satanic Panic and everything that she was a part of, like with the AIDS crisis? Like, how many people did people like Anita Bryant and Reagan kill? Like, these are times when it's like, and I'm not saying that, United CEO
right.
Yeah,
no.
Sure.
Good faith,
but
good faith argument.
the logical track of like, how much can you do? And like we saw today, Donald Trump, the sentencing finally happens. Unconditional discharge after 34 guilty verdicts. Unconditional discharge, not even a fine. And I wasn't naive enough to expect jail time or anything like that. Or I thought maybe, I thought at best they ankle bracelet him in his house like they did to Epstein, and he still goes to work. Like, they ankle bracelet him in the
Pennsylvania
Oval
Avenue. Stuck staring at this dumb town I hate.
Yeah, and he nothing. And so that is like, you start to go down these logical paths, and I think the first little thing that you stop at is, we need to get rid of all felony disclosure on every job application in the country. That should not be a thing anymore, just in fairness. And then eventually you arrive at the Luigi conclusion, which is like, how do we allow something like this to happen? No one's saying murder's right, but we're saying that like murder gets sanctioned in all other kinds of ways. Like, there are veterans that we would call heroes that have committed the act of killing, and in the name of something that we said was okay. And so I think we're realizing that like, Luigi Mangione is the only thing that people have rallied around positively in the last like year or more. Like, it is really, really scary in a way, but also, like it tracks.
Luigi Mangione, and then that kid who sang that song with the red beard. They're coming to take your money, like, and everyone's like, I see his point. Like, it's like,
everyone's like, kid,
money up north.
It's bad.
Well, and I understand, like, not even saying generation or my mother or anything like that, but I understand where the murder of a CEO in the street is that Joker thing we've talked about here, about no one blinks an eye about the soldiers like you're talking about, but this is abnormal to our system, and it's a little terrifying. That's where my mother goes, and I understand it, of just like, but then, and the thing that really upset me, she said, because I said, I don't know, I know some people who are ready for a revolution, I'm not saying I'm going to take a guillotine to the street, but I know some people who might be, and that freaks her out, and I understand that, but she had this. She wrote me, but okay, if your revolution works, your friends are going to put godless leaders in the White House, and I was like, one, that's great. Two, you elected the most godless man I think I've ever seen run for office, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, why can't you see this? And you don't want to, and then boom.
Yeah, I think it is the don't want to as well, because it's like, when it comes to like Trump stuff, I mean, like, I feel like this show and you and I, much like every other talk show from us all the way up to the Tonight Show, you have to struggle with like this, like, how much airtime do we give Donald Trump? But it's so ceaselessly baffling that it's almost like we have to work it out loud. And it is like, because it's like, look, I don't believe most of these people. I'm not saying I don't believe that your mom believes what she's saying, but I don't believe that like your mom would want to be alone in a room with him. I just don't believe that. Yeah. I don't believe that she would be okay with you leaving Grace alone in a room with him. I don't believe it. I don't believe that they would be okay with him sitting in the pew next to them at church. I just don't believe them. I think something would turn in them. They might not ever say it, but their stomach would turn.
Yeah, I don't want this to be my therapy session, but so we'll clock in with you here in a second.
Sure.
Yeah, the issue, the new justification came out, right? They rolled it off the assembly line. The new justification I was getting was, I'm voting for a person who I believe has policies that will change, and they even said, hey, maybe it won't. We'll find out. That's what elections are about. And I came back with your policy, this guy's policies. Like, let's throw the tariff thing out. Let's throw the business stuff. His policies and his ideas and his community. I said I've got trans people that I know in town afraid to leave their houses. I got brown friends, general term, afraid to leave their houses. I got women afraid. I've got things going on my like. So you're not voting for policy, and I got told those were all lies. I don't know how to break through that.
It's the break in reality too, like which you and I talked about, and we talked about on air and privately, and for years, even before we were buds, we've talked about this since 2016, I'm sure, in different ways. The break in reality is so real. It's that post fact. Like, I think that we'll look back on this after the revolution and look back at like the alternative facts moment with Conway as like one of the death knells of the American experiment, because like
facts.
we allowed that to get said and we laughed at it, and it deserved to be laughed at, for sure. It deserved to be laughed at, but that has become like, we don't even say lies anymore. It's always disinformation and misinformation. And it's like, I understand that sometimes that is an accurate term. Sometimes there is disinformation. You want to know an example of disinformation? Here's a good one relating to the fires. Everyone, myself included, I own this, everyone that I know shared the post about how much was cut from fire department and how much was given to police. And it's like, from a certain point of view, like, that police increase is true, but like the LA fire was more complicated. There was stuff that was tied up. There was like, and that was, I would classify that as misinformation.
And I normally am really close to the vest on those kind of things, and I reposted like 2 of them because it just and then I unreposted them because it just, like you said, more complicated. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, and I would say that's misinformation. We weren't lying. I don't have a stake in the LA budget. Like, I'm not like, oh, it's time for me to lie about LA finance. Like, it's not a lie. It's just like, we're angry, we're hurt. Okay, here we go. Oh, that ended up being more complicated. All right, let's go over here instead. A fucking lie is what happens all the time from these people, from Trump and Musk and all that, and like the list of people that need to be guillotined. And so it's like, and we've just been like, he tells it like it is, and sometimes he like asking about like the other thing that happened, him openly threatening other nations, getting into it with Canada, getting into it with Denmark, and the Greenland question and the Panama, and like, these are Putin-esque things that he is saying.
Can I be honest with you? When that popped up. When all three or four, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Canada should be a mistake. We're going to buy Greenland. We're going to take Greenland. I literally went like this. I just went like, and this was before the fires. I went, I'm going to just deal with that later. Like, I didn't read it. I was like, what? What is happening?
Yeah, he is openly saying that through economic force, not through force. Through economic force, that he will take Canada and all these things. And of course, Trudeau, who is on the way out, but he was like, no snowball's chance in hell if that will ever happen. He can openly threaten other places and do exactly what Putin does in terms of like what should be Russia territory, and nobody bats an eye. And then they ask Republicans about it, like Rick Scott, and they're like, I don't really know what he means by that and everything. It's like, yes you do. Yes you do.
Yes you do. Yes you do.
You're a liar. You're a fucking liar, and you're ugly.
You're a liar.
But you're a liar. It's like, you Voldemort ass bitch. It's just like, lives here from Canada. Liv, let us know how things go up there. Are you all just like rolling your eyes at the Trudeau stepping down? Like, because I know it was kind of expected after his number 2 fucked off.
That's right.
His finance minister, I think it is. They have better titles than we do. But it's bad. The Canada stuff, the Greenland stuff, like it's gross.
It's a level of insanity I just did not want to engage with.
What? And again, this is the first show of 2025. There's so much shit already, and shocking as this may be, the Trump administration has not even started yet. And so it's like, that's also part of my frustration is before the fires. Obviously, I know that there's that to deal with now primarily, but I posted this on Blue Sky. Where is the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States? Where are they at on this? Like the president-elect threatening other nations? Not even a post. Not a letter. Not anything.
Yeah, that's all of that. Yeah, there is a little bit of this ignoring the orange dragon in the room.
Since he won, they have basically been almost null. He went to the Amazon. They got. I will give him credit on 2 things: the drilling and medical debt not being on your credit score. Good. Yes. Both wins. But then like outside of that, just in terms of like stay frosty, Joe, like, you know, like stay and strong. He's just like he pardoned his kid, then walked off into the Amazon forest. He could still be there for all I know. Like it's
that's the truth. He's there. Robot Joe is down here for the fires. Yeah. No, I agree. At 898 for Evans.
Like,
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's the go-to plan. Yeah, it's the distract. Very what Nimic said in Andor, because it's almost like it's about stuff. You know, was it 100 atrocities, 1,000 atrocities? Then just one. Joe got federal aid over here. Yeah, Eli, I'm gonna ask you to be, when you can, because I know obviously you're going through a lot. Be my eyes and ears over there, and let me know how that changes in 10 days if it does, or like if it gets rattled.
Yeah. Much love to Eli and the family.
Of course,
there. 898 for him says we should talk about what's going on in North Carolina. North Carolina Supreme Court looking to invalidate the election of an official over there. What is that story? It's
Yeah, I need more details on it.
Because it's been a week.
Yeah, other things that I jotted down, just because we're just kind of going everywhere. I just want to hit me. We're not gonna explore all of these, but so I wrote down Jean-Marie Le Pen is dead, Anita Bryant's dead. Yay! So that's that card. We had the certification of the election on J6, which of course was just like a frustrating day, in the sense that it was frustrating for me to see all the Democrats pat themselves on the back and have Democrats are special because they invented a loser's victory lap, which was very impressive. Like normally losers don't get a victory lap, but they were out there like, hell yeah, look at us, we're peaceful, baby. Look at all this peace. Look at all this peace. We're so cool. We're so peaceful. We should get credit for that, right? No, you get no credit for that. You get no credit for that because it's not peaceful and it's not normal. It would be peaceful and normal if you were handing it to a peaceful and normal man, but you're not. Yeah. And so I don't like Kamala saying democracy prevailed and then walking away. Lady, I don't want to hear from you in 2028. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's. I saw those posts about the coup in 2021 worked because here we are.
Yes, they just rolled over. The other thing I wrote down, the AI collapse, which is just like funny. Like I just wrote that down because it's funny. OpenAI brought in. Yeah, because OpenAI brings in 3.7 in revenue against 5 billion in loss. So they've already like started to plateau and like bleed a little bit, and that makes me happy, especially in light of the fires. It's like that's a conversation that everybody is having off to the side, which is by 2027. I read today that AI will be using collectively as an industry as much water as New Zealand uses, and we're here now. Every Chat GPT little bullshit prompt that you do is about a liter of water, and a state is on fire. So, like I just let's hope they collapse. Let's hope it plateaus, and also that will save some jobs and industries because you're not a fucking chef for ordering a pizza. Fuck you. Very glad that.
Well, wait, I add some oregano when I get home.
Ken's like, I am a pizza customizer. I had that. I wrote down Canada, Greenland, Panama. We touched on that. Let's. We could talk about two individuals right now. I'll let you choose. Okay. One note says Zuckerberg bends over for fascism, and the other note says fuck Hulk Hogan.
Let's quickly talk about both. The Zuck one is so unsurprising that it's valuable to watch. And I was telling you, like someone in my adjacent sphere, I blocked yesterday on Instagram finally because it was like they were posting what's the fuck's name, Benny Johnson. They were posting that exchange between Zuck and Benny, and they were like giving us, see, this is great, and I just was like, enough with you. But I'm not. Who's surprised by all these weird, lonely billionaires cozying up to the people that are going to make them richer? It's just more of the frustrating same for me. But you, I don't know. Where do you go?
Yeah, it's like it's not surprising that Zuck went this way. I think when it comes to Mark Zuckerberg, and people have done this a lot this week, which is good. We have mythologized him in a way that we forget the truth of the origin story, which is true for a lot of these people. Like Jeff Bezos, self-made billionaire? Not really. He had that 6-figure infusion and everything when he was starting off. Like, there's always the truth. Elon Musk's truth is fucking slave labor and emerald mines in Africa. Like, it's like, and Zuck's truth is he's never been a person of character. Like, Facebook was created, as is fact, and is also in the film. If anyone
didn't we watch the film?
The Social Network, like it's literally it is the thematic device that carries us throughout the film. The film ends with him wanting to send the friend request to the girl that he started this all about. Like, and that's dramatization, but it highlights this is a guy who might have been one of the OG incels, and who is out there, who is demeaning women and trying to rank them and treat them like little assets and treat them like just like they weren't people. And that's how his social media experience started. So he can say now that it was always about bringing people together and about community and all that, but it's not true. It's demonstrably false. It's not anyone's opinion that it's false. It is false. And I know he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact checking anymore, but he has shown that that is still his character. And now we've arrived here, and I'm glad that everybody's taking advantage of like trying to use it against him. You know, like that. You might as well. But what they've enabled is like stuff that you would absolutely get punched in the face for saying in real life. You can call women property now on Facebook and Instagram. You can, the mental illness stuff about queer individuals, which has caused, I guess, internally like walkouts or threats of walkouts and everything, as it should. He surrendered it because, yes, I firmly do believe there's a right-left problem. There obviously is. They're not the same. But when you combine the right-left problem with the up-down problem, like Zuck might not have the same personal politics as Elon Musk, but he will protect Elon before he protects any of you, and vice versa. The 1% only looks out for the one. And that's what we're seeing. So it wasn't surprising, but it was kind of just like, we are in the twilight of the social experiment. Like, where, Blue Sky truly is like the only one left at this point that is not somewhat tainted. And I like Instagram. I love posting on my story.
I have to use it to get word out.
Funny little shit. Like, I like that the stories go away after a day. There are people that I keep in touch with via Instagram, but this experiment is over. What started with, I guess, Friendster, maybe, like, or the forums, the dirt forums, sheet forums and things like that. Kevin Smith's forums. What started, it's over. We're done.
No, I agree with that. No, well said and all that. And I just don't trust anyone who has that kind of haircut.
What is he doing? Like, he switched to that, and it made him worse. It definitely made him worse. Buzzcut Zuckerberg at least pretended to be human. And now, and humorous, but still, fuck this guy news. So Raw went to Netflix, WWE's flagship show.
I watched for the first time like 10 years. I watched the live Raw.
You watched Raw. You and I were texting about Raw, and you had to run and do something. You went over on Wangers, I believe, that night.
I was over on Wangers.
Which everybody can check out. That's out. And there's a hilarious tangent in that Wangers episode, by the way, about these chips that you bought, which I thought was very funny.
Prime rib chips.
That's out there. Prime rib chips, which does sound good. So you went to do that, and then that morning, WWE purchased an ownership stake in Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer Company. So they're like in business with him now. So it's like that they got to do this plug. So they bring Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart out, and Jimmy Hart innocent in this situation. Jimmy Hart I was actually listening to Jim Cornette's segment on this, and Cornette's great sometimes. He's horrible other times, to be clear. I don't have a dog in the Cornette fight, but he was like, Jimmy's 80 years old, hopping behind there with the American flag, just trying to make it work. Jimmy, I've met Jimmy a few times. He's all right. I don't know what he votes, and I don't want to ask, but he's all right. When I met Jimmy Hart, he said that if we emailed, he would get me WrestleMania tickets, and he did not have that kind of pull. So I don't know why he said that. I have no idea what kind of pull he thinks he has. And so Hogan comes out. He's got a Real American Beer shirt on, different than the MAGA shirt he arrived in, which someone caught a picture of him arriving.
Really? Oh, good.
He arrived to Raw off of the jet in a MAGA Powers shirt that says Trump, Hogan, Vance. And I'm pretty sure that even Hunter was probably like, gonna have to ask you to not do that.
I know I just went down to Mar-a-Lago, but maybe no.
And he thinks he got away with that too. So that's the other thing is that, like, I don't think he thinks people know. So Hogan
Yeah.
goes out, Real American Beer. He ripped that shirt, Netflix shirt. The booing started mixed. Then it just became outright boos as the segment went on.
And the
It was
closed
Los Angeles.
captioning,
The
closed
the
captioning
Netflix closed
betrayed
captioning
it.
said crowd booing.
You can't lie.
And it was bad. It was awful. He tried to mention people that are dead, like Macho Man, to sort of get a pop off of their name.
And Macho would probably rise from the grave to drop an elbow on Hogan at this point if he could. Like,
yeah, I know. And so I have nothing like brilliant or insightful to say about this, but I will say I shit on him on Blue Sky and got like 500 followers. So
as you should. It was heartwarming. I wanted to talk about this more than the other one because it does speak to a little bit of a societal change around the wrestling world. Now, I'll say this. I think more than the political leanings, the direct political affiliation, I think the booing is based on who he has been exposed to be all around, a liar, the racist comments, and just the POS that he has been since the beginning. Talk about Zuck and his moral character. He's been this since the beginning. And I think that's what the booing was. And look, that's big for the wrestling community, man. Yeah. I know it pretty intimately. And it is filled with people like him. And there's a lot of good people in it, but it is filled with a lot of just ask questions, doing our own research, protecting women's sports, all those guys. It's filled.
Taker was on the same Raw. Taker also showed up,
and he's a let's only identify him as transphobic Undertaker, Mark Calloway.
And he showed up, and he didn't get the boos. And people have said, "Well, why Hogan, not him?" And I'm like, "Well, because of history. That's why." Like because Taker, 10 years from now, probably will get them. Because
it should get them now, but
should get him now, but he's just now dropped character in the last few years, so he's gonna build a resume of stupidity now.
Hogan, absolutely,
it goes back, and so like Hogan, like the locker room in 2018 when they were moved from the Hall of Fame after the N-word stuff, like they were the locker room was like, we're not doing this, especially like the black talent, like like, so it's been out there. And then, of course, being a snake and killing any hopes for a union forever.
Like that's out there directly now. Yeah.
And sort of mentioning it on the news in the election cycle reminded people. So, like, it's the complete culmination of Hulk Hogan. Whereas, like, other MAGA wrestlers, like, it's like maybe their time will come. But it was just the complete rejection of this, like, I don't want to say nostalgia act in a bad way, but like you can't just play the hits anymore, man. You can't.
Well, yeah, and again, like so, there's the locker room aspect of it, where most of the people I know in wrestling, I've either blocked or severely limited my communication with. And again, I want to say not all, and I think the WWE locker room is full of a lot of more evolved, if not just outright progressive people, but it's still got. And I'm not just talking about Logan Paul. I'm talking about the workers, the folks that are there every day in the locker room. But the other side is the fandom. And what I've run into with a lot of fans I've worked with and know closely over the years with MPW, even when some of the Hogan stuff first came out, particularly not the cheating on the wife and this, but like the racist stuff where like, woo, they still have this, but man, he was my childhood hero. There's a lot of that bullshit. And I get it's hard. It's hard to, from J.K. Rowling on down, or even an actor you like, or, for me, a musician, like having to disconnect a little bit from Ryan Adams, who's someone I loved and stepped in it. There's a lot of times it's hard. I understand, but I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people close to me, Alden, who were like, but Hulk Hogan's a cool man. Look what he did for me as a kid. And I get it. But you, who were moved by John Cena as a youngster, if you discovered all this stuff, it might be difficult. You might have a You Can't See Me shirt, a hustle, loyalty, respect shirt in your closet that you might not want to get rid of. But you do it, right? Maybe even if you kept the damn shirt, you would distance yourself from the man. The booing, not to get hyperbolic with it, the booing was a sign that there's a lot of fans who are like, no more. I don't care what you meant, no more.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a reality that everybody has to work through. And like you're saying, like it's just about it's not an indictment of your character. Like Jared brings up Kanye. He's a big Kanye West fan, right? And so it's like
a great example. Yeah,
Kanye was musically regarded a genius. you know, a generational guy within his genres, but also just producing and writing. Like he was the guy, and to have sunk that low, it's like it's not an indictment on anyone's character if they still listen to an old Kanye track, but it's about it's about, can you be, you know, if you're walking around and Kanye shows up, like, can you be like, yeah, acknowledge that he sucks. Like, you know, this is a thing also in comedy as well. I don't have to tell you that, but like, you know, like when I remember when Chappelle did a drop in on Mulaney's tour. Like John Mulaney was in LA and Chappelle was backstage, and Chappelle did a surprise thing, and it was like, is that an indictment of John Mulaney, the man? No, but maybe John should have been like, hey, I mean, I'm on tour. I just got to get out. I have a hard time. Like, you could have talked maybe your way out of it. But then there's like the fraternity aspects of comedy of like, you have to respect like, there's all these weird things, but it's just about like finding, like you said, that point where you're like, I can acknowledge history and then also acknowledge truth at the same time. Cultural impact. Nobody can ever take it away. Like, it is true when Michael Cole yells, "We would not be here if it was not for." That's true. That's true. Undeniably true. You know, let's look at a less bad example. This is someone who wasn't a bad person but did some shitty things. Look at Stan Lee. Like Stan, one of the great like carnival, you know, ringmasters of his time. Like, yeah, he did create all these guys, but most of them are co-creations. All right, most of them are heavy on the co-creation. Some of them are Stan retroactive. Like, he got cameos in the Marvel movies for people he didn't make, you know, like, and that was definitely the like he got Walt Disney'd into being Stan the Man.
Yes, it's a great way
to
do it.
You just gotta parse through like the Disney Plus doc on Stan, kind of bullshit. Like, go read a book, you know, go find some more truth.
I still know people in town here who spit on his grave. It's fascinating. I get it. Yeah.
So it's a powerful thing to deal with as a human. I've said this before on the show. I grew up on Joss Whedon shows. Angel's my favorite show of all time. You know what I do? I don't go online and talk about it. You know, like I keep that to myself. I don't rewatch as much. Harry Potter, you know, you mentioned Rolling. Like, I got the tattoo. I'm gonna get it covered up, guys. I'm broke. All right. So it's like, just give me some time. Like, it's
and I personally am sympathetic to that. Like, I would expect you to do that. Like, but I'm also not someone who's directly affected by her.
I also just, it's also so like people have asked me about it, especially when I was back home for the holidays. Like, you know, a couple of my friends like that have known me since we were 14, like busting my balls, you know, like, oh, that sucks. Like, you know, because I had a friend that almost got a Harry Potter tattoo and didn't. And he was like, glad I didn't do that like you did. And it's like, but it's not that I'm like, I'm so bothered by it. Like my skin is tainted. I feel like a bad person. It's not that. It's just that, what if I meet someone that we hit it off and then they're like, oh, like they'd be right. And they don't know that I got it when I was 18 years old, way before she was a crazy. So it's like, you just got to adjust. And that's the thing with Hogan. Like, I have positive Hulk Hogan memories. You know, one of my first big angles that I watched when I was a kid was a Hogan storyline. It's like, I get it. But it's like, you just got to adapt.
And well, you're speaking to something too of when it's real and the change is earned, and he's less of a problem, certainly. But, you know, I got the chance to be around Roddy Piper more than a few times and work with him in 2 arenas at the end of his life. And he had a checkered past. And I'm not just talking about things in the ring that a lot of people go to as questionable. Truly was not only the sign of the times, it was how you did your job. So him coming out in the LA Coliseum and having the famous wrestling moment of, I'm going to play the Mexican national anthem on a bagpipe and it's La Cucaracha. That worked in a way that got him so over as a heel. And am I saying it's right? I'm saying that, but I just don't think people should go to that. There's other things in his past and his, you know, marriage infidelities, this and that, and when I and many others in the LA comedy and wrestling scenes finally got to work with him from 2010 to the end of his life in 2015, he had a sense of, I need to make right and I need to give back, and you could feel it. It wasn't always expressed because he was a very humble guy, but he loved the community of comedy. He gave willingly, drove in his own car for a very long time to get to our wrestling event in Chatsworth, California, to give to charity and to be there for us in a gym in front of 290 people. This is a WrestleMania 3 guy, you know, and you felt it. You don't feel that with Hogan, and you don't feel that with a lot of the other people. They're doubling down. And
100%.
that's speaking to what I think you're talking about too.
I'll use one of my all-time favorite wrestler as an example. It's the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. I am a Shawn guy. I've always been
Yeah.
a Shawn guy. I love Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is a Texas guy. He's a cowboy. He's got his land out there. Now he's retired for a while. Now he's back in the business running developmental as one of the vice presidents or whatever. And he's on NXT. Do I know in my heart that born again Christian Texas boy, cowboy Shawn Michaels probably has shitty politics? He probably does. But he approaches it in a way that like he hasn't made a single comment. He hasn't made a single judgment. He hasn't and Sting as well, I will give credit to. These two born again Christian guys,
Right.
the last 20 years, you will not find a hateful comment from either of these guys. And I've checked. You will not find anything. So it's like if that's what they hold in their heart and they voted red, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah,
but
look, hey,
they still show up. They still
yeah.
Sean's there putting over young people of color all the time, trying to I can respect it if you come back and you're like with some grace, of
And first of all, there 82% of evangelicals voted for Trump. There's 18 that didn't, right? And I'm not saying he's one of them. I'm just saying I'm not here. I'm here to untangle the church from maybe the heart of our country as much as one man can do it in a pink hoodie. But I am not in a position, nor do I have the authority to say God is not real and none of it, blah blah. Shawn Michaels found his religion like my parents. A lot of people I know, they were on the floor, and this picked them up. And I do respect that, and I do understand it, and I think there's something to be said for that. This is why a lot of times when some of the knuckleheads, I've been thrown out of Hollywood for my Christian conservative beliefs, and you can point to like 10 people who are still working every day. And who occasionally might step in it, and I'm not here to defend Chris Pratt. I'm just saying sometimes like I don't know what started this, but it's like there's a reason a lot of his friends came to his defense, whether you liked it or not, right? It speaks to something that you don't maybe understand, not you, but just in general. But yeah, so I like what you're saying about that, and because I don't want that, because Hogan's already trying to spin that. Hogan's I got booed because I stood up for something that they didn't stand up for. America or whatever the hell he's.
It's just about. So, and that's why it is good to have these other legends like Rowdy, like Sting, like Shawn, that are people that I'm sure they had their beliefs and their things, and good and bad, but there is a way to age and be beloved. There is a way to still be relevant. There's a way to make people feel like you still have a place, and yeah, it sucks. It really does suck that he decided to go down this path, but he decided it a long time ago.
A long time ago. You're right. A long time ago. And
MAGA just gave Trump a place to call home.
A lot of them, right? That's the comfort level that has been afforded these jack-offs these last 8+ years. That's the scary thing. That's why, a lot of people are afraid to step out their door. It's not the policies directly. It's that, orange knuckleheads up there saying there's going to be 2 genders in this country. And it's like, great. So because I don't fall into that bucket, I'm now a target for violent attacks by some dude in a Cybertruck. That's the problem. And someone like Hogan, like you said, choosing and feeling I can finally be myself in this era. That's the problem.
Yeah. So shout out to Los Angeles. I mean, it was
great.
Horrible week, but LA, you did have your babyface moment earlier this week.
It started the week, right? It was just the very next morning.
Literally started the week.
The very next morning, all hell broke loose. It's just something else.
Yeah,
it's great. I'm glad we're talking about that. That was more than just a fun moment for me. It was an important moment, I think, in a lot of ways.
And it's like, look, we talked about this a little bit, when the Onion bought InfoWars, and that has now been tied up in court. And
I know.
Who knows what will happen now? But it's like we need small little victories, little laughs, little things to hold on to get us through what is about. I mean, this motherfucker is gonna have J6ers at the inauguration. It's I don't think people all I've done is rant to my sister and my mother nonstop. And the phrase that keeps coming out of my mouth is, "You have no idea how bad it is about to be." And I feel like my mother is 57 years old, so she's got a solid, decade give or take until retirement age. I told her, I was like, it breaks my heart that you are going to be amongst the retirees that like will be retiring during like all hell breaking loose. Like it's like
if even, yeah,
you're not going to know peace. Like you might be retiring while we're taking to the streets. I don't know. Like it's because people keep saying
could
like
be.
we survived until we survived 16 to 20, which first of all, a lot of people didn't. So it's like, I don't know where that's even coming from. We can do it again. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you under the assumption that he was just going to give up power in 28 if he's alive? Like,
Right.
do you think that's going to happen? You think he's not going to like just like give it to his son or to like you guys are? It's very cute that everybody thinks this is going to be a normal Republican term. It's very adorable.
Yeah.
It's
how many days we got? 10.
10.
My God.
He is being inaugurated. And by the way, he's going to swear. Let's know he's going to swear to uphold things that he already broke the first time.
Yeah, right.
So it's like that's new and fresh. Nice little twist, something unique.
Yeah, and what you and I had a conversation quickly via text before all hell broke loose out here in LA. But like, I'm at the point where I just don't know, because of this argument I was having, where it's like I just don't know how. And all that stuff, all the stuff we talk about, like the Jordan Klepper on Daily Show going to the Trump rallies and making fun of people, are hilarious. It's not effective for change, and I'm starting to give up the idea that you can change some of those folks in a way that I hadn't even just 2 weeks prior, where I'm just like, logic is not working, facts are not working, and you're going to say, well, of course, we've been saying this for a long time. But when it comes down to a micro level, you're like, so I'm lost on what to do and say, Alden. I really am, other than to keep fighting in a way I can comprehend.
The only hope, if you could even call it hope, that I have, and I don't even know. As I was about to say it, I lost hope. It's like I wonder if we're realizing that like this little tour that we just did during Kamala's campaign, of like sending all the surrogates out to talk about rehabilitating the Republicans and like we should, be united. We should have an opportunity economy. We should like, I really hope that people have realized that was entirely a losing strategy. Like you are not going to get them back. You're not going to get them back.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many more fires that's going to take. I don't know how many more coups it's going to take. I don't know how many more escaping. He escaped 34 guilties, not one guilty, 34. Yeah. I don't know how much it's going to take.
That's where and I think I wasn't on the opposite side of you, but I was like, again, because I changed, and I changed over the course of time, over the course of conversations, over the course of seeing things in the real world. I'm not an example of everyone in general, so it's like I can only sometimes speak to my own experience of like, I didn't change because a friend yelled at me. I changed because I made connections and slowly was moved by the people around me. So I had hope that maybe that could happen. When I'm not saying, Mom, this general group is affected. I'm saying here is individual people by names in my life affected. Here's what's being I am being affected in these ways. My fiance is being affected in these ways, and you hope that works. And when the answer is no, it's just disheartening. Yeah. It's disheartening.
I know this is going to be a stupid question considering the fact that you're in LA and things are hell right now. Is there anything that had started off this year that has made you just laugh, happy, smile? Because I feel like we just did an hour, 8 minutes. We did an hour, 8 minutes of just cooking this year, and like setting a tone of like, welcome to Anytime the fucking villain arc. Like this year, like we're gonna change. We're gonna no more purple. We're gonna do black and red on this show now. I'm showing up next week in a hoodie. Like I'm gonna get my own pink. Welcome to the pink hoodie sermons. Like
yeah. I mean, I've had some personal, not breakthroughs, but just some adjustments of my focus about a lot of my mental battles over the years of what keeps me from succeeding. And I don't mean that just in a financial status, though I'd love to go buy a house in a rich area, and then when it burns down, you tell me I deserved it. But I have some things I've learned, tools to manage some of the problems I faced for 25 years that I'm excited about. And it's been in play early on in the year, and it's been effective, and I'm excited about it. And I've been talking about it on my Monday morning show podcast and blathering, and even here, I'm sure as we talk more. it's nothing that I'm doling out for $5.99 in advice, an advice program. It's something that, yeah, it's been working, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm just starring a few things to jump in here from the listeners. I think that's good stuff. I think like I struggle. I don't know if you do with year ending and year beginning. That's part of
Mm.
why I just like didn't participate in family Christmas, and I went to see old friends because I needed a nostalgia trip. And not that it's nostalgia, because we've kept in touch. Like I'm in that very fortunate small percentage of people that like every single one of my high school friends we have maintained full contact, and like
It's a lot easier now too. Yeah, yeah.
and a lot of exactly we came up at the right time. Like we've
Mm-hmm,
had
mm-hmm.
group chats and this that and always regrouping and everything. So it's like the people I spent Christmas with I have known since I was 14. Then now here we are 28, 29, and we were like
Mm.
hitting all the old spots, going to the same movie theater, going like
It's
it was
great.
really
It's
really
great.
cool. And so that helped. But yeah, to your point about like sort of finding knowing the steps of the like find like putting one foot on it before you actually like like that
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
January stuff, it does get in my head sometimes. So I think that
Mm.
what you're
Get you.
saying is like
I get you.
I'm gonna follow your lead and try to because I'm one of those people like when the January 10th, I already have those like I fucking wasted 10 days. Like I have that already in my head.
Yeah, a lot of that is we put it on ourselves in society, and because of the changing of the year and the calendar, and yeah, I get it, and that's why I love you a lot. Is I see a lot of myself in you too. Of it's not bad nostalgia, but it's a connection to your past or a connection to a time where you believed a lot easier in some things about yourself, or you hadn't learned some things about yourself. I had hope when I graduated high school that I had I believed I belonged in comedy, and then I suddenly got into comedy and realized, oh, I'm horrible and I don't belong, like it's good to go back sometimes to see and to take stock of who you aren't anymore, which could be a plus. So I'm with you,
Yeah.
and we'll we could make a pact here right now in front of our audience to make sure we end every episodes with the good things and the steps forward. And doom scrolling is a dangerous thing, and that's why the Greenland and Panama Canal stories came up, and I was like, I don't need to get involved in that one right now. I don't need it, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And as Eli is saying, who is in need of these vibes more than any of us right now in chat, more of us vibes going into 25 is
More
a
of us.
very good theme statement.
Yeah. Yeah. I again, Eli, I know I can text you and like I'm addressing you like there's no other way to talk to you, but like we love you, and anyone else who's listening after the fact that has lost something or everything in these fires. And Eli has been doing his Marvel watch over the last year or so, watching all the MCU films. And there's that line in Ragnarok that I texted him, which is the Asgard is not a place, it's a people. Or it's a people, it's not a place, whatever way he says it.
Yeah.
And to Eli's point that he wrote here about good things, the support from normal folks of people in LA has been genuinely heartening. Yeah, man. Like there was an ABC News like on the scene report where they talked to a guy in the Eaton fire area, and he was walking around with a headlamp, regular clothes, with buckets of water, just putting out small fires by gas lines, just doing whatever he could. And they interviewed him, and they said, why are you doing this? And he said, when I wasn't home, my neighbors protected my house. And I literally cried watching the news because I was like, oh my God, people doing right for each other.
Yeah.
The cycle. It was very heartening for sure.
Yeah.
Those stories will get us through it.
Yeah, and we try to carry those forward. And instead of me being cynical and saying sometimes we lose it and we forget it, let's just focus on that's the best way. How can we get forward? And being open and honest about our love for each other and our care for each other. I'm big on hey, I love you, guy, and I'll give you a hug if you want one. There's a lot of things I'm looking at, but the concept of masculinity, which is not inherently evil, and when masculinity is built on love, it could change the world, is something I believe. But instead, right now, it's built on other forces. There's a retired pastor I was listening to talk about that, Pat Conkey, I mentioned a lot here, and it was pretty powerful. And he was talking about it in terms of football. He's a sports fan. Here's the lessons from the Lions and the Vikings game the other day, and the head coaches, and that moved me a lot because I think sometimes I fight my friends on. From the cop worlds or the tougher worlds where you need some strength and your natural, their natural, whatever you call it, their masculinity is actually value and it can be used for a great tool. I'm not here to stamp out any of that. Just like I'm not here to stamp out God. I'm here to, can we reevaluate how you're using it? And that's something big I'm carrying going into the new year for me.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because coincidentally, when I was back in not my hometown, but where I grew up mostly, I had a conversation with someone who had just watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, or she had just watched maybe just for Fellowship, and she talked about sort of like the tenderness in it, and I was like, yeah, a Tolkien masculinity, like that the older you get, when you return to those movies, like men receiving and giving gifts, hugging, laughing, playing, cooking meals together, kissing each other on the forehead, like really, really, really showing that like you can be 9 of the most badass, brave people, but like what's pushing the group forward is just like really just like openness, just like really like unabashed like love for each other. You can kill orcs and kiss the homies at the same time.
Like I said to my police officer buddy one time, I said, if at the end of every briefing you all could hug each other, we'd be in a lot better spot. And
there's unexpected tears there for sure.
Well, because he had for the third time had to take someone's life in the line of duty, and for my money, all 3 of the incidents have been pretty justified, knowing the details of them, because sometimes it's just the way it is. And he goes, we can't talk about it. And yeah, they can send you to the court-ordered, department-ordered shrink, but man to man, and sometimes woman to man and woman to woman in the department, we can't talk about what it feels like. You're not allowed to, because if you do, you're considered weak. And that's such a perversion of what, and I keep using the word masculinity in this general kind of classic sense. I'm not getting into the gender identity politics of it, but you know what I mean? Just this.
Yeah.
We need you. You're tough. You're strong. You're willing to run in, and you're killing us or strangling the world because you can't kiss a hobbit on the cheek. And you love these movies, but you only see when the sword is drawn. And that's something I'm looking forward to 2025 fixing in my own circle.
And it wasn't won that way. It was won by one guy putting another guy on his shoulders. Like it had nothing to do with beating anyone or combat or anything. Last couple of things I just start here. You mentioned football. Steve says you made Steve money.
I did.
So money on football.
Producer Steve kind of fell back into producing a segment on my show, The Blathering, which I did NFL picks this year, and I did not bet for real. But Steve revealed to me that he quietly did based on my picks, and we made some money. So
Nice.
It's dangerous, Alden, because I did so good that I'm like, well, maybe next year I should sign up for a gambling app. And I'm like, I think that's how problems start.
Yeah. I think every gambling addict has started with I did so good, so maybe I'll blank.
Just one more pull.
I don't have a problem. I just think about it all the time. Lauren Romo says Fortnite in 2025 has been fun.
It's been fun. Look, in the community, and I love playing Fortnite, but really what I love doing is hopping online and playing with a couple friends I know every night. You know what I mean? Like, and I think focusing on what's the themes of the why of what we do, as we talk about in Force Center, the themes of what we're doing and getting value from that. There's times where I'm like, Friday, shit, I don't know if I want to do a show, but I love talking with you. I love being with our audience, and that's community, and that's valuable.
Absolutely. And last thing I starred, Michael McCarcel. We have some congratulations here, but also some reality. Michael McCarcel wrote, my mom got married 2 weeks ago. She and my new stepmom wanted to hurry and get married before the inauguration. So first of all, huge congratulations. That's awesome to your mom and your stepmom. Love that.
That's great.
But they're still worried that it'll be nullified. And that's also the harsh reality. And that's, I'm assuming, like you said, they wanted to hurry and get it done. So it's like, that's one of those things. And I send love to your family, man, and to your moms, and just sort of hoping that it's not something that we have to do. But again, it's like, I don't think I have to tell anyone in our audience of like, it's about feelings, and like they can never take away certain things.
Right.
And fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah. Absolutely. Fuck them.
Yeah. Good start to the year. Earlier, Kingsport Cal, way earlier, had asked if you were on. I figured you were going to do plugs and sort of talk a little bit about your show, which is still on. Yeah,
if you're local and you still want to come out, you can come out. You're still in the area and you need to come out. We're still on tonight at Flappers at 7:30. They had canceled shows the last 3 nights because the first night, Power and Wind, and the next 2 nights, Fire, very close to downtown Burbank. But they're back. They kind of asked me to keep the show going, and all the comics but one are on the bill because Lisa Gottman had to evacuate. And just kind of left the area as it was a reasonable decision to make. So, anyways, we'll be on tonight, 7:30, and I'm not going to do the, we're here to make the world laugh. It's my job. The doors are open, and I think if anyone needs 2 hours to just kind of laugh and forget and enjoy some snacks, we're there for you if you want it.
It's really funny to me that you're like mocking voice of a comedian that thinks that they're an activist is like somewhere between Lennon and McCartney. It's like, we're here, but it has a little bit of the poor.
Yoko and I are doing this for peace. Yeah,
watch Ken as both Beatles tonight.
Yeah, and look, I want to be clear. Like, I think there's great value in laugh. I have a story that's on the internet, and I've done it in my act of the first thing usually to come back from tragedy is laughter. I just want to laugh again. It felt good to laugh again. I do believe there's great power in it. I'm just not putting on a cape to do it. It's what I do. I kind of wish the show got pushed. They didn't want to push it. It's me and Jay Leno reopening the club tonight, so I'm like, all right, I'll do it. If Jay's doing it, I'll do it. But yeah,
the Ken Knapsack Tonight Show run starts tonight.
Starts.
Fallon, we're over it, man. It's time to pass the torch.
Jimmy.
The young upstart Ken Knapsack.
Jimmy.
That's about everything that we got.
That's
again,
yeah.
We're back. Shows are rolling again. We'll be, I like the ending positive. It's going to be a hard. Look, reality for everybody watching. Like, next week is going to be the pre-inauguration show. It's going to be the fallout of this. Then we're going to have the inauguration show. So it's like, I'm not saying we're going to have like joy. Yeah, we're going to do so many happy topics, but like we are going to still approach things the way we approach things, do fun stuff with friends like Dan who came on and made that awesome snacks, and Dorina and everybody that we know, Ken, Plume, everybody.
There's not to go off tangent. You and I haven't talked about it, but I think it's important that all eyes will be on the administration and all eyes will be on the problems in the world, and our eyes are not coming off of that. But I really do believe in great value. In fact, this retired pastor that I watch, and I do prop him up a lot, Pat Conkey, watch his channel, Culture, Faith, and Politics, and he and I probably don't agree on everything. It's not about that. He laid down all his arms to fight Trump as a Christian. And has been trying for more than years. And he finally has come out. He's like, look, I'm still talking about him, but I also had other things I wanted to talk about that I can get great value on. The first video he did was this. He's a Vikings fan. He's from Minnesota. He's like, lessons to be learned for the Vikings and Lions game. And it was a powerful lesson in what masculinity can be for. And I think we're going to approach that stuff here too. Eyes on the administration. But instead of always just being angry and cracking jokes, because we're going to do that. Oh, trust me, we're going to do that. I want to also be, hey, here's what's happening, and here's how maybe it can be effectively fought, and here's the reality of it. Like, I think that's a good approach. But also, Alden, we all have to function. Today's a good example. Your house might have burned down, but maybe today you just want a fucking slice of pizza. That is good. That is true. That is real. So we'll carry that forward anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would add to that, that last note, is that mentality. Like, it's important. You see it sometimes on social media, and I agree with it. You are not abandoning a cause, and you are not caring less if you just stop. Like yesterday, in between political rantings and raging and reading all the stuff about the fire, I went on Disney Plus and I threw on John Williams Live in Tokyo, which is available there to stream. And for about an hour and a half, I felt some measure of peace. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone or anything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. And apologize. Sometimes I apologize last night on the Resistance broadcast. Occasionally I'm looking down and everything. I'm glued to the Watch Duty app. And I even paid for the year subscription to support them in their work, but also like it's real time. Like I'm literally watching the helicopters, the purple thing you see there, the helicopters flying around. Yeah. And it's real time valuable information. So I apologize if sometimes I'm like, I'm looking down.
No, I mean, yeah. How dare you? How dare you keep track of the imminent dangers of your city?
Imminent dangers. All right. I think that's it. I think we've done it. I think we've
Indeed.
done it. Protect your peace is extra cheddar. Protect your peace. Have some Detroit style pizza with that piece. We'll see you next time here on the little show we call Anytime with Ken and Alden. Bye.
Mwah.